Well, honestly, as we're sitting here in December of 2023, there's the tendency to be able to think that we're going into a brand new year in which everything will be very optimistic, will be very, very productive. But I think we're going to have a very difficult year ahead of us. It's clear, for example, that with the military to military dialogue that was established, or at least the declaration was made, that we were going to see closer contact with one another. I have yet to see any evidence that there's been much of anything that's happened since that San Francisco summit. It's quite something to realize that we have had in the House of Representatives a select committee on China that just released a report that showed that there were 150 different areas in which there was concern on the future relationship between the United States and China, and a concern about how to be able to deal with all of these things. But at the very least, we have people like the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, who is going to be leaving the United States for China in 2024 to continue the dialogue. And to what Bob Hormats was saying, it is extremely important that we continue to have that kind of dialogue, because there's an awful lot that can go wrong if we don't.
And I'm wondering, is the U.S. approach to China a little bit schizophrenic? I mean, on the one hand, we hear administration officials tell us that they do sincerely want to improve relations, but on the other hand, we hear from people like Gina Raimondo, who says China remains a serious threat. And of course, as James mentioned, there's that report in Congress raising all these concerns. How does China respond to that?
I met with Secretary Gina Raimondo in Yale University end of October. I actually asked her direct questions. And I would say, if she says China is a threat, be specific. Where does China threaten the United States? And how China and the United States can work together to overcome whatever threats that Gina or any other U.S. government officials may have in their mind. I don't think China is a threat. If Gina Raimondo thinks China's steady economic development is a threat, China will develop. China will surpass the size of the United States if we use official exchange rate. If you believe in Elon Musk, by the middle of the century, the size of the Chinese economy will be doubling the size of that of the United States. That in itself is not a threat. I think if there is a real threat between China and the United States, that threat should be interpreted as U.S. trying to impose its version of the truth on China, or vice versa. Other than that, we can get along despite of our differences. And the positive, constructive relations will be beneficial for both the Chinese people and the American people.